You're very welcome to Paddy's office. Good to see you. This is a photograph of Upper Church Street, Dromore, taken in the early 40s. And you zoom in, you can see the gable end of the old ruins of a monastery. And below that you have two houses, semi-detached. The first one was Wally and Kate Hunter, grandparents of Tommy Hunter the Undertaker. The next one was Tommy the Gunner McAleer, and he had 3 or 4 daughters and 2 sons. They nearly all emigrated except 2, I think. But below that you have an old shed which was used for turf for the both houses. And in later years it was McAleer and Teague's, when they started, McAleer and Teague's first workshop. Coming down now to this trap here, it's either Bill McQuaid's father or grandfather. I just can't remember right now, but I think it could be Bill here and so it could be his father. And he's from between Dromore and Drominion, I think that's how long it is. Where do we go now? These houses are here, that's Slevin's, this is McDermott's, McNabow's house, and then McNabow's pub. This is Alice Dunny's. Alice had a fruit shop, fruit and vegetable shop, and had a taxi business as well. Coming down then in the entry, you have standing in the entry is Tom the Yank O'Brien. Tom lived down Dromore Road there in Kildrum Bog actually. And Tom was, called him Tom the Bum. He bummed his way through America. But he was an uncle of Jim McGartland. And Jim was born in America, and he was called up to do his national service during the war. And with the result that he got a grant to Queen's University when he got off the army, and he studied medicine and became a doctor, and was a late student. He was over 40 when he qualified. And next to Tom here in the shade is Eddie Devine. You can see the clothes outside. He had a second-hand clothes shop. And he went to fairs, markets and fairs around the whole county, from Anna and Tyrone, maybe further afield. And he wore this Stetson, as we call it, a hat with a very broad brim around it. This is Malachy McNulty, the son of Dan and Mrs. McNulty, and he lived across the street there, just opposite. And Dan father had a drapery shop, a wee tin roof on it. This is Devine's front door. It led to the front door to the shop and the house. There was no, you just went into the left end of the shop and did into the house through the hall. But this one on the door, this lady on the door is T.C. Slevin. And T.C. worked or lived about Devine's for months and months, maybe years. I thought, for a long time, I thought that T.C. was Devine, T.C. Devine. And her and Sarah, as Eddie's daughter, were great friends. And she slept in all in Devine's, like a sister, like a daughter just of Eddie's. She lived in John Street there, further up the street. We come on down here now, and we have, what have we now? That's it. well, I can see here, but the left-hand side, you can see a small building here. That was Don McNulty's drapery shop. And then here was entrance to Galler. There was an entry there now between this shop and these houses here. And that was the entrance there to Galler's, where John McCusker was reared by Aggie and Joanne Galler, and two brothers, Jack and Eugene. And their father, John was a tailor. You come on down here, this is where McNulty's new drapery shop is now. That was an old meal store and belonged to Mickey McNulty. He lived in the corner in the old church street in the corner with a sister. And then as you come on down, that's that church street done now.
What about McNabow's, the bar and the man that owned it?
Aye, Edward McNabow was a Calvin man, and he was an old RIC police constable. And he married Mrs. McNabow was Baxter, sister of Johnny Baxter and Tommy Baxter. And that's McNabow's there, and Baxter's there. There's Baxter's. That was Slevins too. He was married to. Hugh Slim was married to O'Reilly. We can leave that one and go to the next one. This is a photograph of Lower Church Street. And you see here Alice Dunne, where I mentioned there, Alice is standing in the road chatting these two ladies here. They're McWigan sisters. They're McWigan sisters from Tattycar between Dromore and Fintona. And their brother was a quack, they called him a quacky, Dr. McWigan, when he was in prison. First of all, he was in a raid on Adrian Bank, and then they got 8 years hard labour. He was the ringleader. He got as they called it, the cat. He got 8 or 9 strokes of the cat, and he'd studied a bit of medicine, and they called him a quack. Dr. McWigan was all I heard from Dr. McWigan, but he was good now. And them two sisters were. This is Tom again, and Malachi. But Eddie seemed to have disappeared. Eddie must have a customer in the house shop. He'd away. Remarked that. Eddie Devine. He'd away for a tea or something. Next door to Eddie's was, I think, I only remember Donaghy's in it. You know, there could have been some other people in it, you know, but Donaghy's took it over. They had it at the end anyway.
Which Donaghy would that be?
That had been Alice's once, old Jimmy and the wife, Alice's father and mother. This here is Hibernian, but I can't make it out whether it's Hibernian yet or not. And that time it was Dooley's had it one time before I remember. And then Master Donnelly, HB, he bought it from Dooley's. And it wasn't a hotel, it was called the Hibernian. But next door to it, on the same building next door, there was another house, sort of a small house. Well, there were 2 windows upstairs, and one in the front room, and I think there was a kitchen at the back of it. And Paddy Donnelly, Paddy was a fluent Irish speaker. He lived in that, my brother of the master's. And Paddy, he rambled away at Irish tea, and we didn't know what he was talking about. But we know now we should have listened to him.
Why did you call him Master Donnelly?
Because he was a teacher, HP. Paddy wasn't a master. Paddy would have been something to do with testing ones in Irish, for the education exams, Maybe done the world with them, nothing. But he was very good.
And where did Master Donnelly teach?
Master Donnelly taught up on the old St. Dimnus, up the Bray, up to the St. Dimnus beside the chapel. And that was a hall, there was a hall above it. That was the parochial hall. They could have everything on it, concerts but they couldn't have any dancers on it because maybe it wasn't stable, It was propped up from underneath by pillars. I remember Joseph McLowan up that, speeding up them pillars up to the top, teacher after him. This is Hughes's Butchers. My father's, that's where I was reared. And outside the butcher shop you can see this, it's a float from bringing milk to the local creamery, and they're on their way back with skimmed milk, which they got when the cream was separated from the milk. And this is a nose bag, they called it, for the horse, when the horse was standing there, it ate hay out of the nose bag. And here was a wee light confectionery, sweets and confectionery shop, belonged to Tom and Aggie O'Donnell, father and parents of Cahill and Eugene and Tommy, Rita, Kathleen, all the 7 or 8 of them. This is Muldoon's, Joe Muldoon's, a drapery shop. And Joe Muldoon would have been related to my wife here. Her mother was Muldoon. I'm not going to that anyway, but Joe must have, I only remember Joe Muldoon on the site, but apparently there was a Woods man owned it. And there was somebody recently looking for information about this Woods man that had lived in Lower Church Street, Dromore, and was at a drapery shop, and he had owned land outside Dromore. So I assumed that was it, because Muldoon Park, that was Joe Muldoon's, and where we are now, where this house is situated, this was Muldoon's as well. So we assume that this was Woods. When Muldoon got the house, he bought the bit of land and all. Further down then, and this is near the corner, just there's an empty on the other side. This was acquired, first of all, this Muldoon's was left to Eddie Garrity, John and Patrick's father. He served his time to the drapery trade, and Muldoon wasn't married and had no family, and he left the whole thing to land and all to Eddie, which was very good. This McNulty then, I was telling you about Mickey McNulty. He owned the meal store on Upper Church Street there. Well, Mickey, all I seen him do, Mickey was walking up from there to the meal store and bringing a bucket of stuff down and walking about and telling you yarns about the Klondike and wherever the Klondike was. I told these yarns to boys and scared the life out of them. And he had a sister. I can't remember her sister. I don't think it was Mary now, but then later years then, Ernest, a son of Mickey's brothers. He lived with them. He lived in the house for a while there, and then they died. And Ernest had his two daughters and a son. I think one of them worked in the bank. Anyway, that's for another day. I don't know these children now, but I should know them. One of them could be, there's a Gertie Donnelly, and she died, I think, in childbirth too. And that could be some of her children, Could be one of her. She married a policeman, Macaulay, too. Why, we have to see this. I think this is the same trap that we're talking about on Upper Church Street. This taxi, as far as I can make out, where it's situated, it's near between Tom McKenny's and Poinces, so I assume it's Poinces. I think Dunny's mightn't have been later years. Dunny's taxi, no, Peggy Dunny's, up from Poinces. Behind the trap and car is Landrum's, now Canwell's. Just behind the trap, you can't see it, but there's an entry roughly there behind the trap. And this part of it here, to the right of the entry, was the hardware place, and to the left was Delph and Wallpaper. And in the entry there was two doors, one into the hardware and one into the Delph place and Wallpaper. Next door then to that was Campbell's. They had a drapery shop, sold light drapery. There wasn't a lot on it, mostly ladies' stuff. In later years, late John Teague, young John Jr.'s father, and the wife Mary, they kept it on, belonged to Campbell's, and they kept it on. Then they bought it off Dumpner Friel. She was Campbell. She was the first cousin of mine. And she had a brother, a doctor, Dr. John, and he was mostly a ship's doctor. He went over the whole world on ships. And a very clever man too. He used to come up here to Church Street to my mother. And the teapot would be on the range. It wasn't a cook at that time, an oil range, out Stanley range, 2 ovens in it. He used to come up, and the tea would be, you could have stood on the tea, it was that strong, and he used to pour the black tea into the mug, and no sugar, no milk, just drank the black tea. He had a bit of a drink problem, but the tea must have helped him. And he was clever. It was their mother was a sister of my father's, Aunt Minnie. And that's about all. But you come up here now, Poinces at the corner here. There was a wee house in here. This is McGuinness's now, but before McGuinness's, there was 2 houses, there was 3 houses. Poinces was in the corner. There was O'Brien's, Georgie O'Brien, but I know where the Georgie had the what he called the second-hand clothes shop that time, or I wouldn't think so. I can't remember who owned it, but Tom McKenny lived in the next one here. And Tom fixed bicycles. And he was, in later years, he was a bookmaker. I don't know who he done the books for, but he had that time he had a wee bag with a zip on it, and all the money and dockets went into the bag. And before the race, the bag was zipped and couldn't be opened till the race was over. The race was over. And Tom was a good character too. He had a brother up on St. Dumpner's Road there now, where John McMacken and Vera live. They lived there, Barney. And Barney was an auctioneer's clerk. And Barney had a couple of four sons, John and Brian and Tony and James. James went to Scotland, married a girl from Scotland. Tony and Brian emigrated to England first, and then went away to Australia. And John was local. John stayed up. He lived in Church Street, further up here, in parish houses. And then he bought a house then up in Abbey Court. This one here, shiny paint on it, like that's McGuinness's. And old Mrs. McGuinness, I remember her. I don't remember the husband now. She must have been dead, but I remember her. And she had a son. She had a son, two sons, just Joe and Jack. Jack died. I think Jack was on a bicycle on the old road and was hit with a car. That's a long time ago. He fell off a bike anyway and died. And Joe was Kieran's father now. But they had there was a sub office, whether it was in later years, or I can't remember the sub office. It must have been in the 40s too. It was I don't think it was. I think it was the Munster and Leinster, but and you could still see it when they were painted. You could still see it. The sign was painted on and you could still see it. If you looked across the wall, you could still see the outline of the name of the bank for a long time. And then you had McGowan's. I think it was John Larson was there, but John would have been coming in earlier years. I don't know who was there before that. But then you had the McGowan's, another RIC. He was from Leitrim, Owl McGowan. And he was an RIC constable as well. He was an RIC sergeant. And he had two daughters. And I think he had two sons, but I don't remember the other one. He had two daughters, Elsie. Elsie had later years had a wee shop. Mother had a shop, and Elsie took over when the father died and the mother died. And the other brother, Jim, he worked down here. There was further down here, Main Street. Now not Church, Main Street. From behind that, there was where Colin Bresson had the place there now. It's a pizza place now. Johnson Vance had a store there. Farm stuff he sold. And Jim McGowan, Elsie's brother, he worked there all his life and smoked away too, and lived till a right age now. He didn't, smoking did him no harm. But his other sister, or their other sister, Kathleen, she was working in on revenue all her life, so she wouldn't have been too well liked about the Dromore the tax office, but she stayed about Enniskillen most of the time, come down to weekends. But I think she had another brother too, but I can't place him. Further up here, side of the picture, there was during the war there was evacuees lived in it. Jimmy Griffin lived in it first. Jimmy Griffin, that's Jack's father and Bobby's father. But then in later years then there was evacuees out of Belfast came, Fulton's. And the Fulton man was an invalid. He had a wee bed in the front room there downstairs. And there was a mother and son, and she looked after the father. He was bedridden. Don't know what was wrong with him, but he never was about. We wanted to see him, but his son was called Jackie Fulton. Not Jackie Fullerton, no, Jackie Fulton.
What, had McNulty's a shop on the corner?
That's here. There was a shop here, and they had a wee kind of light groceries. That's where the flour, Pat McDonald's daughter has the flour place now, right round. She has the whole thing taken out, entry and all. But then you had the other one, then the Bonnie's round the corner here. But that's for Main Street. We get the length of that.
That's another photo.
That's another one. We're going to go to Main Street now, don't we?
Yes, we'll go on to the next photo.
Next photo, where did I get the next photo? Wait. Now, the West End. If I can get it. Before I zoom in, this is a house belonging to Trevor Guy. Was it Trevor Guy? He was only, him and the wife was the only one that I knew that lived there. There could have been ones before that, I don't know. But Trevor Guy worked for Charlton's. They had a Charlton's that I think they were Vauxhall and Vauxhall Motors, the supplied Vauxhall cars, and he was in the office. He wasn't a mechanic now, he worked in the office. And that was where Colin McCrory has his stool arch, or whatever you call it now. And zooming in now, this is Montague's shop. Standing here at the petrol, that wouldn't mean diesel now, that's petrol pumps, no diesel that time. I think that's George, one of the Montagues in this, I think it's George. And beside him here is Josie McGlowan. And it must have been cold weather because of long socks on him and shorts, short trousers. But he lived across the road. 6 sisters and 2 brothers. The brothers was Eddie and Seamus. And I remember Mary and Kathleen. Who else?
Vera,
Teresa,
Anna,
that's right.
Gertie.
Gertie lived up at Green Park in later years. Montague's shop, there was an entry between, the whole building belonged to Montague, but there was an entry between the two, and it serviced this house here. There were, I guess, one house now, but it was 2 houses that time, semi-detached, and this part here was belonged to the Ulster Bank. They had it rented, or anyway, the Ulster Bank was there for a long time, as long as I can remember, until they vacated it and built a new one where Whittaker's shoe shop was. Next door is where McCann's, the older generation, lived. Paddy and Oney and Mickey and Jack and Francis. And a small house now for big families. But in later years, Jack lived in this end one here next to Riley's, or O'Reilly's, and things. Paddy was in this part here. Paddy, he cut hair. They were all worked in the council workers. And that time you had to work. There was no diggers, or they went out round the water tables and the shocks round the and kept them all open, flowing. And one man doing all that now, they've a digger and maybe 2 or 3 men standing looking at the digger. Anyway.
And who lived before the McCanns in them houses?
Oh, the Morans. That's right.
Morans, yeah. One of them
married.
One of them married my grandmother.
Yes.
Joe McGlone, and Joe actually he went to World War One along with one of the Morans, Edward Moran.
Yes.
And Edward Moran was killed, and his grave is up in the old graveyard, and just up beside the bell tower.
Aye.
And you can see on it killed in action in 1917, which is just 100 years this year.
My God. One now to Riley's. Andrew Riley was the father, I think. Must have been because the young Andrew was called after him. And there was a fair few. There was Packy and Ted and Andrew. 3 sons and that. And only one daughter. She married Liam McGee, an auctioneer from Irvinstein, but he had a business in Ballyshannon. And he had a couple of daughters. They were in the bank. Next there is the old forge, where Rita McDonald and Fabian O'Neill's living there now, semi-detached houses. And the river runs there too. There's the wall of the river. River's open. It's closed in now, but it was open that time. And I think, I'm nearly sure Harry O'Neill was a young blacksmith that time. That's a long time ago. And I'm nearly sure it was, I can't remember anybody, only Harry O'Neill in it. But I'm telling a lie now. Francie McCann took over from, Francie worked with Harry in it. And then when Harry retired, Francie and Martin and Eugene's father, he took over and done well in it too. Francie used to work, he worked with Crozier's Forge, probably served his time with Crozier, and then when this became vacant, then he opened up and done well in it too. He was a great farrier, great man at horses now, he was very good at horses. We'll go to Village View here first. That's Edward Riley, Senior. He lived here. He had Desi Riley, Brenton, John, Edward, and Dotterina, 5. And they were the undertakers before Tommy Hunter, and before the mobilised hearses. They had a horse-driven hearse. I think there was two. No, I think there was only one horse pulling it, but it was lovely. All glass, black, all glass, round. Right round it, and high seat on the top, and old John Garrity, that'd be young John's grandfather, and Patrick's grandfather, late Patrick's grandfather. He drove the horse, and I remember in '47, the big snow, old Auntie Montague died, that'd be Dermot and Eugene's grandfather. And the men had a clear path for the horse from the town up Ermstown Road, up round the high road down to the chapel. And there must have been a couple of dozen men just with shovels and anything that could move the snow. And I wasn't too old that time. And they kept behind the farm as well. And in later years, Tommy Hunter worked in the farm, and then he done the undertaking business. He done that as well. And then later years, Brendan took over from the father, and Brendan gave all to Tommy Hunter. So Tommy is the undertaker now. Down here is McGee's, Johnny and Tom and Bella. Johnny had a taxi one time, and there was some great yarns about Tom and Johnny and the taxi. They were fowl pluckers. They bought fowl as well, and they plucked fowl for Campbell's and other McConnell's too. McConnell's, they were mentioned that they were fowl pluckers too, but they worked among other, they worked through other, and they were great. There was no kitchen. I remember McGee's kitchen, no fancy paint. It was whitewashed, the kitchen. I remember putting, I think it was snow salmon on it one year, and Johnny, he didn't get out of the way, and I slapped away, and Johnny was all white and pastoral remarks. And there was a son in it too, or I was adopted or what, but he had a sister too, and sister married Andy McCormick. He was a butcher from Oma, working the butchery trade. Oma. So these children would be probably local. You'd be Hartops and McGlones and it could be Poinces too. They could be all over. They wouldn't have been in the one place now. I'm sure they were around now. And this house here would be that day there was a space now. It's just narrow there, but it was a garden. It was Johnny Gordon's that owned the pub, the Central pub there now. Johnny Gorman owned this garden, and we used to go. There was a wall built, and there was no way of getting in. There was a way at the back to get in, but there was no way in the front. They made him maybe over and all right. We used to jump the wall and then play in the garden when we were boys. But then it was Tom and Fran McManus lived in this, or Josephine Breen would have it now. But that's where this garden is now. That's Murnan and Coaton's offices. And Mrs. Breen, Charlie Breen. But before that, there were McManuses living at Tom and Fran, and they worked up in Naharmeenan's, and then afterwards in McDermott's. The same place, same venue, but it was changed hands. McDermott married into the Meanans or something. I don't know the story there, but Fran and Tom were two great characters. I'm sure you had stories about them too. And I think that the next door to Breen's was Charney's, but I don't know who. There was Doherty. Don Doherty lived in that. Don had a daughter and a couple of sons, I think. But I think that they emigrated too. I think it might have been one of them now in the Air Force, in the British Air Force. Couldn't be sure, but the daughter, she was married to some McCaffrey man, and we're talking about earlier in the show there, we were talking about RIC policeman, but there was another one up Church Street, Bill Curran, another RIC man. And he, no, it wasn't him now, I'm sorry. It was McGowan, as I mentioned. Bill McGowan, he had accidentally discharged the gun, and she had a limp after she hurt her. He shot her in the leg, the lower leg, and she always had the limp. I was wondering what was the limp for, and I discovered then afterwards that she was accidentally shot. The gun must have went off accidentally. And then you had
after the entry with Kearney's entry, McGlone's was after.
That's right, McGlone's. They're not showing this now. It must be further up.
No, I think it's in the shade.
Zoomed in now.
You zoom in.
Zoom out.
You have McGlone's.
That's McGlone's there. I'd say some of them. And there's Hartops from McGlone's.
McGlone's was first beside the entry.
Aye. I forgot to mention that too. Where do you see it? Oh, it must be another one. Anyway, I'll bring it back. There was a photograph. One of the photographs was a street light. And it was Master Donnelly would have been putting those up. Master's son Charlie. He had the electricity in the town before the ESB took over, or the NA.
Well, who was after McGlone's and Hartops on this right hand side? Did you say Breen's? No.
There was no Breen's that time, but Dr. Chambers had a dispensary in it. I don't know. It actually belonged to, those houses belonged to, even Baxter there, belonged to the Harp stores, Duncan's of the Harp. They lifted the rent, they were the landlords. So Chambers might have had that. There might have been nobody in at that time. You see, Chambers took it as a dispensary, but I don't know who was in it. But then Tommy Baxter, he was in the corner one. That's the corner house there, I think, isn't it? That's the Omer Road there, I assume. That's the end house there now. I see the coins on it. So Tommy and the wife and Tim, Eiley, Tim, Charlie, Kevin, that was all. Tim, Kevin, he left for England. He went away to England very young. Goodbye, and I hope to see you soon again, Martin, and I hope I'm in better form. Okay.
Thank you very much, Paddy, and hopefully we'll be back on Dewey's Road again.
Oh yeah, and happy God. Bye.